This is day 2 of the JDM B20v Tech turbo motor swap in my buddy's Integra GSR. Not really sure how far I'm going to get on it today. If anything, I'd just like to get the motor in with the axles and all the mounts buttoned up, and then finish up the radiator hoses, all the engine harness, and all the other things a little bit later, maybe in a later date. I can't really get too crazy far on it because there's a couple of things that I need. I still need to get the half radiator here, and then the new, I guess they'd be the lower radiator stay brackets. And I don't have the injectors here yet either. So even if I get the motor in the car today and ready to start, I cannot start it, which is why I'm not overly in a huge hurry to get this thing up and running and buttoned up. But I'm just gonna go ahead and say it. I think today's to-do list is put the engine in, put the axles in, button up the shift linkage, and probably just leave it there, to be honest with you. There's really no point in going any further with all things considered. Usually these swaps don't take this long. There's been times where I've pulled cars in the garage running that morning, swapped the motor, put the new B series in it or the K series in it, and driven it out that night. I've just found a greater respect for YouTubers and what they do. It takes a lot of work, especially if you're by yourself filming all this stuff and trying to edit videos while trying to be productive in the garage and get stuff done. So working a little bit slower at the house as opposed to what I do at work, it's a little bit more of a challenge. It's a lot different. So I have a greater respect for people who do it on the daily for their living. But I guess that's enough talking. I'm gonna get this front end jacked up, jack stands under and wheels off, and we're just gonna go to town on this. I really need to start working on this car too. Miss this thing so much. Put that T-bracket in off camera. It's not tight, it's just snug for now, up until I get the engine in there. Then I'll tighten everything up. I got the chain up here, ready to go. So I'm gonna set the phone down and just do a quick time lapse of installing the motor and just keep going, man. Quit filming after that last clip. Got the motor in, mounts are all tight, T-bracket's tight, did some of the grounds. He's got some speaker wire going on, so this is just the grounds the way that I found them on the last motor, so I just put them back the way that they were, just so I don't mess with any of his system. Got the harness all buttoned up over here, and the harness all buttoned up over here as well. I got my heater core lines plugged in on both return and feed. Got all my grounds on like I showed in the last clip. I need to get a map sensor for this, so I'm gonna have to take it off his other motor. We got the shift linkage all done up, bitch pin in, and the 12mm holding the linkages in as well. A little tip for you guys, you could probably tell in the last few clips when I was putting the mounts in, it's really, really tight. These bushings are a lot wider than the factory ones. You can probably see that they're kind of squishing out a little bit, but what I found to be very helpful is if you use some Dawn dish soap, Just put it right here in this area and back here on this side, and just so it'll slide down the chassis mount. Same goes with this side, do the exact same thing, and then the motor should slide in a lot easier than without the soap. It does kind of make a mess. There's soap all over the mount, but hey, when you get done, just a quick pressure wash and it should be good. I quit filming because I told myself I was going to take the rest of the day off. I was going to stop at about 10, and it's about 10:15 now. I got not too terribly far along with the process, but all that's left is the axles. I gotta put on this power steering bracket. I gotta take the power steering bracket off of this motor, transfer it over to the other one, install my clutch line right here. I'm still waiting on the radiator to show up. So once that shows up, I can do my upper and lower rad hoses. Then at that point, I'm good to install the turbo manifold and the turbo, then run my feed line from a sandwich plate on the back of the block. If you guys don't know what a sandwich plate is, I can show you in the next video. Not gonna get too in depth with it right now. Yeah, there's really not a whole lot left. I just gotta run the charge pipe, take the front bumper off, mount up the intercooler, bleed the cooling system, check the oil, change the transmission fluid, and then it's done. It goes in for an alignment after that. It's pretty exciting. This is gonna be a lot of fun for him. I wish I had everything with me today, because otherwise I wouldn't take the rest of the day off. I would just honestly try to finish this up so I could get it done, back to him. But it is what it is. Made good progress today. Pretty happy with how far I got. It's been a few days since that last shot. Got a little busy with life. Yeah, anyway, this dude got me some good parts over here. He got me a Skunk 2 half rad alpha radiator. Got me a slim fan, which I'll open and show how to install that all in a minute. And some Alpha Injection Clinic 1000cc injectors. And let's see, he got me, since we're transferring the radiator over from a full rad to a half rad, we had to get some aftermarket pegs, lower radiator support brackets. These are just some eBay ones. I think you might be able to pull it up with that part number. But the idea of these is these are gonna mount to the core support on the back side. So they're gonna be taking place of the factory pegs, which I'm gonna be drilling both of them out, especially on this side, because I'm gonna have to mount one of these tabs over here like that. Another one over here in this ballpark right there, just to line up with the pegs in the bottom of the radiator. So for example, about what the idea is. These come with rubber grommets too. So those rubber grommets right here, these just slide in. They slide in just like that. So it creates a little bit of a cushion for the radiator. So you see that it's pretty snug fit. And that'll be real good to reduce the vibrations, seeing as how it has 1320 solid motor mounts in it, and these mounts are very solid. And they rattle the car quite significantly, and I let the owner know about that. He said he's cool with it, so we're gonna run him for now and see what he thinks later on. I ran him in that car when I had a B20v turbo, and everything most definitely did rattle, and it was kind of annoying, but you just eventually drown it out. Don't even notice it. So these guys right here, they're just little rubber inserts, and they have threaded inserts on the back side. So what you're gonna do is you're gonna line up these pegs and make like a dot or something, or a pilot hole, and you're gonna drill out to about this size, and I'm not sure what size this is, but I'm gonna use a step drill bit. I'm gonna drill out into the chassis with a step bit, just until these pegs will fit into each of the holes. And then the idea behind it is when you start tightening these rubber bushings with these screws, it's going to compress and squish this bushing all the way down, and it's going to swell up inside of the hole of the chassis. I'm gonna have to wait till Sai gets here with the drill. I have drill bits, but I just forgot that my drill broke last week. So I can't exactly drill out the spot welds, and I can't drill the new holes for the new lower radiator support brackets. Jumped ahead and got this suspension fork off, and I haven't popped the axles in yet. I'm gonna do that right now. And as far as the speaker wire, I did talk to the owner about it, and he's aware of it. I don't exactly know how to go about this because he put it there, but it's around a very important mechanical piece, a rotating piece. So I'm a little concerned about that. I have no idea, dude. This wires ran under the whole car. So if I were to remove it, that's just extra time. I don't know, man. Because like when I pulled it apart the first time, the axle went through like this, and this was just around it. I don't know how it didn't wear a hole in the side of the insulator, but I guess I'm just gonna pop this axle in and see what it looks like after that. Like I said, customer knows. I guess I'm just gonna route this axle the same way it was when I pulled it out. I got the axle in, but I guess when he gets here, I'm just gonna have him remove this wire completely before we go out and try to tune it or even drive it, because I'm just not cool with that at all. I got the axle nut notched. That was pretty difficult to film, but that's done. I just got to tighten up that 17. I got to put the suspension fork back in, tighten this 17 and this 14, and then put all the cotter pins in like I stated in my last video. So yeah, anyway, everything on this side's almost done. That 17's tight. That 14 back there is tight. That 17 is tight. And the cotter pin hole is lined up with the castle. That cotter pin hole is lined up with the castle, and so is the one in the lower ball joint. I don't have any cotter pins here with me, so I'm gonna have to run over to the shop and grab some. I'm gonna jump over to that other side and do the exact same thing. Put this axle in, driver's side axle, and I will try to film the best I can. I'm just trying to get this done at a reasonable pace. So, got everything on this side tight. Axle nut is notched, which is clearly on the driver's side. Got that 17 tight, 14 back here tight, actually, right there. And that 17. I've had a lot of fun working on this car and doing this swap. To be real though, I'm not gonna miss this. This is one of the most dirty cars I've ever worked on, dude. Hopefully the next one I do isn't quite this dirty, but it's not his fault. It is what it is. I just don't like working on filthy cars. With both axles in, driver and passenger side, everything torqued. I'm out of position now where I can't really do much until Sai gets here, so I can drill out those lower radiator support brackets, so then I can install the new radiator and the pegs, which I showed in the previous clip. But while I wait for Sai, I'm gonna install these 1000cc Alpha Injection Clinic injectors. I've never actually seen a set of these in person. These are really nice injectors. I like to put a little bit of lube on my finger and just kind of swirl it around this O-ring on the top of the injector. Just like that. And then you just press it in just like this. Try to do it with one hand to show you guys. Kind of do a circular motion. Gonna put a little bit of lube on the lower O-ring as well, so it helps it slide in a little bit better. All right, after that fun turn of events, got the injectors in, looking real good. Pretty impressed with that. So all I gotta do now is just take this Dash 6 AN fitting off and install the factory fuel line. This was just something I had to run on my Integra. I also am gonna have to install these jumpers since we either had the wrong injectors ordered, so these plugs do not fit. We're gonna have to tap these ones in. We'll do that the right way though. Get some proper butt connectors, crimp them, the ones that are able to heat shrink, and then we'll put a little thing of heat shrink around that as well, just for extra protection.
A lot of people don't like to use solder. Just for me, it depends on what I use solder on. Unlike car and electrical stuff, I don't personally like to use solder. Just because as vibration, road vibration, driving, the engine vibration, all of that can rattle the solder joint loose and eventually break the connection. And then you're just gonna be chasing ghosts from then on out. So what they taught us in school was to get the butt connectors where you crimp them, crimp the two wires together and then heat shrink them. And then you can put another thing of heat shrink over the top of that just for a better seal and better protection. And that's exactly what I'm gonna do with this car here. Just gonna finish putting on these vacuum lines. There's the fuel return line down here I gotta install. Got that vacuum line on for the brake booster. Now if I can source out that fuel line, it's right here. This is the fuel return line right here. Goes to your fuel pressure regulator. Now that's in. Put that clamp on for the fuel return line. Right there. Like I said, vacuum line is on. These are next. I gotta go to the store and get some of those butt connectors. I don't have any here. Those things look so sick in there. I'm not gonna lie, I was trying to take a picture of that and send it to Rafe, but apparently I was still on video mode. So swapped over that AN line and installed the new one, or the new one, the old factory one, with 2 new crush washer gaskets in between it. Got the map sensor installed, and then the TPS and map sensor both plugged in. We apparently don't have a shroud for this. All right, so got those mounting tabs. Gonna line up the hole right there with that hole right there. Kind of see it. Just so this plastic isn't rubbing up against the radiator fins. Gonna wear a hole in it. So I decided with the fitment, the room that I have, with these little brackets, I was going to mount them right here. But if I mount these ones up here as well, it doesn't really fit the greatest. So I'm gonna mount these right here instead. Just like that. Does that look center to you? Look center? All right, cool. What are these things called?
They're zip ties.
Okay.
For radiator fans.
The zip tie radiator. Radiator zip tie. Slide that through the spring. Really hard to do this one-handed. Just like that. I'm gonna slide it through one of these holes, and its tip is gonna slide through like this. Just for example. So just slides through like that. So I'm gonna push this through. I felt it bottom out on the floor, so I'm gonna get all the other ones put in before I pick it up, just so I don't lose my center point on this fan. Hey, you wanna give me a hand flipping this over so I don't lose my center point? I shouldn't, but...
I'm gonna lift it straight up and you push.
Huh?
I'm gonna lift it straight up, push those through.
Okay, cool, I like that, that's cool. All right. Backside. Perfect. Should be able to just set it on the back now. Sweet. Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir.
I'm gonna get these other little grommets, slide them over. Gotta pop the additional center hole pieces of foam out like that. Just slide it over, but I'm just using a pick to push them through. Gonna peel that cover off. verify it's down all the way.
Like buying and selling.
Not yet. I'm gonna push on these springs and you're gonna pull that zip tie. You're gonna push that back side up.
Ready?
Yeah. Okay, so that one's good. That one's good. Got it? Good. Perfect.
I like leaving a little tail on it.
Yep.
Just in case.
Pretty simple. Now we just got a wire on a factory plug so we can plug it in OEM. Now it's not raining yet. No, not yet. There's a nasty storm coming though. But yeah, anyway, as I was saying before I rudely interrupted, we're gonna get a factory plug so we can plug it into the OEM location. And it looks like it's got some terminals on it, so we might be able to pin it, but I'm not overly confident that's gonna work. So we may just have to do the same with what we're gonna do with the injector plugs. Get some nice butt connector and heat shrink them. But yep, that's how you do that. I like that a lot. I do wish it had a shroud on it, but size car, his Integra is not running a shroud, and his coolant temps don't get over 180 ever, surprisingly. But he's got it running constantly. This car is going to come on the way a factory car would come on. So once it hits a certain temperature, the ECU will automatically kick the fan on and off as it needs it. So that's what we're going to have running with this car. Unless he does have any overheating issues, then we'll address that. And size here, obviously he didn't bring a drill, so we got to go over to the shop and grab one. Yeah, he's ripping out all the AC stuff though. He's picking up all that stuff off of Wraith. I guess while the hood's open, I can show the difference between the B20 and the B18 upper power steering pump bracket. This one's too small. We already established that a minute ago. So, let's see. I'm making a point here. So everyone knows. This one is a little different. Not much, but the holes don't line up. This hole specifically, it's off a little bit. So, I don't know if the lower one's different. Do you know?
P30. What's that say?
This says P54. That says P30.
I have a bunch in the shop.
P16?
I don't know.
Well,
Should probably roll up your window.
yeah, you want to roll those up?
You have keys in there?
Yeah. Anyway, I gotta head up the owner and let him know about that, because I did not know that. So, all good. Just a little setback, and it sounds like we have some at the shop, so might be able to get him hooked up with one. Haven't been filming a lot today. Just trying to get stuff knocked out, but got the new injector top hats wired up. And since they were so long, I was able to tuck it underneath the intake manifold to give it a little bit of a cleaner look. So there's that. Not too bad. I got this lower radiator mount off right there. So that's off. Now I just got to drill the 4 holes so I can install the new lower radiator brackets. And then we'll be good to mount up the radiator, get the rest of the plumbing done, and then finally get the turbo kit reinstalled. And I performed a wire repair on his engine coolant temperature sensor. I had previously found that when I took the engine out of my old car last time, that wire had broken and this crimp was missing. So that crimp plugs into the head right there. So, yep. Anyway, performed that wire repair for him, so we're good to go there. I'm gonna wire in this radiator fan plug that I picked up at the junkyard yesterday. They do have existing crimps, so like a male side, and then they've got a female side that I could plug into that. But I don't have the proper equipment to do that. So what I'm gonna do is just get some of my halfway decent heat shrink. It's a type of heat shrink. It's like a insulator that you slide over the wire, and I'll show it in the next clip, but there's a little piece of solder in the center. You heat that up, it'll melt the solder around the two wires, then it will continue to heat up, and the insulator will shrink around both wires, creating a nice weather-tight seal. And I will show that as I go. So for now, I'm gonna kind of cut some of this insulator right here, just so I can pull it back and see more of the exposed wire, and then I'm gonna cut these two terminal ends off. Cut. Got that pulled back a little bit. Got more exposed wire now. I'm gonna cut these guys off. I'm gonna cut them as close to the terminal as I can so I don't cut off too much wire. There's no need to cut off more than that. I'm gonna look through my kit here and see what size best fits. Got a piece of heat shrink slid over. So once I get these terminals all soldered and butted up together, I'm gonna slide this back over and then heat shrink it, just so it'll have a nice outer coat, just like this. So it'll kind of retain the OEM look. And that's kind of the idea right there. So got that nice clean OEM insulator look, plus the heat shrink covering my two terminals coming together, and then the OEM plug plugged in as well. So I'm pretty happy with that. So now I'm gonna put power and ground to it and verify that it even works. I'm just gonna get straight power and straight ground from the battery and see if that fan even kicks on, which I'm sure it does. It's a brand new fan. I got my two wires here. I'm just gonna put them straight, power and ground on the battery. Just gonna stick this power wire onto the little terminal in there. Do the same with the ground. It's a good fan. So we verified the fan works. So we shouldn't have any issues there.